The overall goal of the garden is to educate people about gardening, in particular food gardening in Sonoma County.
All right, I see on air, and welcome everyone to the Thursday, August 17th, 2023 Windsor Unified School District Regular School Board Meeting. Happy first day of school to the Windsor School District for everyone here and those playing at home. We did have a short closed session, which we'll talk a little bit about. And as indicated on the agenda, a number of the board and Superintendent Decker were over for a ribbon cutting ceremony at the Quick Cafe at Windsor High School. Were you two over there too, as were our two student board members? So we'll get introduced shortly from the dais. So we're very excited everyone's here. So let's convene to open session with a roll call, please, Ms. Cox.
Bill Adams.
Here.
Stephanie Amott.
Here.
Paul Cagorno.
Here.
Malinali Lopez.
Present.
Rich Carnation.
Here.
Meadow Graves and Kai Aker. RC.
Here.
Okay.
Here.
Okay, wonderful. Our flag salute will be led by trustee Stephanie Ahmad.
Everybody rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Stephanie. Superintendent Decker, a report out of closed session.
We don't have any report.
Okay. No reportable action was taken. Thank you very much. Item 4.1, trustees or members of the public or staff, any adjustments to our agenda today? Seeing none. Oh, yes, sir. I'm going to wrap up with what I was told. Anything from staff? Okay. We do have two modest adjustments to the consent calendar. Trustee Carnation is going to abstain from voting on the personnel assignment order 5.1 and has requested that 5.11 and 5.14 be pulled from consent, and we'll have those as the first two discussion action items. He wants to have a more of a robust discussion. So when we get to consent, it will be with that adjustment. Okay. Now we'll go to item 4.2, public comment on any non-agenda items. This is under the Brown Act. We usually give 3 minutes or so. This is not items that are available to be commented or acted on by the board because they're not been agendized. And do we have any public comment today? Okay, come on down. Come up to the dais if you would, please. And I rarely would do this, but I happen to know this nice lady. And Laura can introduce herself, but she comes down from Geyserville. She's a grandparent of a Maddie student, a retired teacher from Geyserville, a retired board member and board president from Geyserville. And in all disclosure, taught together with my bride in third grade up there for a number of years. So thank you. Who has tried to come before on Thursdays and could simply never find a place to park. And by the time she walked in, we were, an hour into the meeting. So thank you for coming early today, ma'am. Go ahead and introduce yourself if you would, and happy to hear what you have to say.
Laura Equitz, retired teacher, started in continuation.
Would you put the microphone down by your mouth, please,
Yeah,
Laura?
I
'Cause-
started in the continuation, and then they shifted me over to third and fourth grade, and that's where I ended my career. I'm here today to give praises to the district. First of all, who's timing me? Is that you, Jenny? Or
I don't think you need to worry about that.
oh, okay, because Patriotic Day at Maddie Washburn. Amazing, heartwarming, and a proud moment for Trey Aguilar, first grade, grandson of a Vietnam War veteran. If I cry, oh well. The administration and staff created a lasting impression on the students to be a proud American and honor our veterans for their service. I've spoken of this assembly to all parts of the community, and when I talk about it, they say to me, this is not something you hear of all the time. But my husband's a Vietnam vet, and his first reaction was, no, I'm not going. And I called the school, and I said to the secretary, this is a very sensitive moment. And she goes, oh, I'll have somebody call you. The teacher called me, I'm sorry, I don't have names, and said, it is very non-threatening. Just come, bring them. And then at the end, my husband walked up with all the veterans and held my grandson's hand and introduced himself and his service, as well as the other men who were there with great-grandchildren, grandchildren, children. It was amazing. My next praise is the emergency alert. I had come and written to the superintendent and Bill before about the alert that came out of Windsor when there was a lockdown. And I wondered why I didn't receive one. And what I found out is that the system only allowed two people to be alerted. And what I've come across with now is that grandmas who are child giver, we take care of our grandchildren, that we need to be alerted just because of the world today. And since then, I emailed Heather again. She said, go on this system. This is how you do it. And my daughter went on. And just like that, I'm on it, the father and the mother. And that's what I'm talking about, is turnaround professional and very, very sensitive to the needs of the world today. Also, my last thing I want to say is that I don't know if you all read the Press Democrat article by Benefield yesterday about the crisis in mental illness and the crisis for children nowadays. So she said children are in crisis, so the schools have got to work with these children that are hurting. But she ended it with this, a Japanese proverb. I'm going to try to say this as best I can. Better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great teacher. Let today be that day. And my grandson said, Grandma, I have Mrs. Lombardi. And I said, you do? And he goes, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm like, how does he know already that his second grade teacher is someone that he's so happy to be in her class? That to me is a good teacher already. Thank you so much. Again, Windsor is very impressive. And that it's not just because I know Bill. Thank you.
And Laura, thank you very much. We do not have anybody here from Maddie Washburn, but I'm sure Superintendent Decker can pass that along. However, in the back at the table in the black is Heather Bailey, who I believe is the one who helped her. So you're a hugger, and you can go back and see Heather. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Laurel Green. I want to thank Windsor Unified for all the years that I taught here. I'm here tonight to follow up on a letter that I wrote to the school board recently. I'm here as a Windsor parent and as a Windsor resident. I care about all of you and I care about this district. I felt like I could write such a letter because I trusted that there is enough respect between myself and the board to be heard. Trustee Lopez, your courage to serve us during a time when your family is in need while representing people of the Latin and Indigenous communities, as well as the academic communities and parents and women, shows great integrity. I look forward to your continued strong leadership. Trustee Cogorno, although we don't know one another, I know your wife. I know the goodness in her heart, and I look forward to hearing your voice more and more as you grow into your role on the school board. Trustee Ahmad, I value the battles you fought over the past period of time, and I honor that you represent women and parents and folks of the global majority in your role serving us. I hope you keep sharing your stance on how to set things right. Trustee Carnation, I appreciate your contributions to the community with the spoken word, your presence at community events, and your willingness to learn from all of us. Trustee Adams, as far back as I can remember, you have been supportive of the roles I have played in the community and continued to do so while serving as our board president. I appreciate this greatly. The letter I wrote was not about anyone individually. And you guys might not have seen it, but it's okay. I was disagreeing with behaviors, and this is worth getting curious about. Dissent is worthwhile for building a strong, healthy school community. Dissent is not always about an individual. Dissent is valuable. Dissent promotes divergent thinking. Dissent enhances the quality of decision-making. Dissent has the potential to lead to better innovation. As an active challenge to the consensus, dissent has the capacity to foster good change. I implore you to listen and respond wholeheartedly to the voices of dissent. Fight the urge to think defensively about the words and the letters, the requests and the proposals, and honor the humanness in yourself and in all of the voices, and trust that fundamentally it might be true that there is no real dissent at the end of the day. We all might want the same things that are best for the students, the teachers, the school board, and the entire school community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Laura, for your comments. Any other comments, public comment not on the agenda? Okay, seeing that, we'll close 4.2. Thank you very much for coming, ladies. 4.3, report from our student board members, Kai RC and Meadow Graves.
Yeah. My name is Kai Arce. I'm the new school board member from. Oh, there we go. Sorry. I'm currently a high school senior at Windsor High School, and looking forward to this new year. I'm very interested in creating a more connected Windsor High School. When I first moved to Windsor High School, I found a very welcoming community, and one that I felt very comfortable in. I think all of our events on the town green create a very good sense of unity. But I think we can work to help connect our schools in that same way that we're able to connect the rest of our community, whether it be events with Windsor Oaks and the high school, and events connecting the high school and the younger schools as well.
My name is Meadow Graves, and I am a senior attending North Bay Med Academy. I also have recently switched over to this school district, and I just want to say in advance that I love the opportunities it provides for students and the ability it gives them to truly flourish. Do you want to start talking about things we're excited to do? I'm going to let it go over to Kai.
Yeah, no, I would like to quickly touch on some events that we've had already at the beginning of the year. So for Windsor High School, we've already had our senior parking spot day. A lot of our parking spots beautifully painted, a lot of very fun. It was a vibrant environment. I had a lot of fun there. On the 26th, we're also having a tailgate event for our Powder Puff football game, where the women are playing football. And before that, we're having clubs come, any community members come to help support our school.
Yeah, actually, I would like to say off of what you said about the clubs, they are doing a wellness center on the Windsor High School campus, and I am lucky to be a part of that, and we are going to have a booth there, and I think that that is going to be a really good development in helping kids get more in touch with their mental health and flowing it with their school environment and bringing all of our high schools together.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also you had an event at the beginning of your year at North Bay Met.
Oh, yeah, we do an event called Fall Jam, where we do a bunch of activities, and tomorrow we are doing like a breakfast bar where it allows all the students to understand each other, not only in like an academic setting, but who they are as people, and have fun activities. And Kai gets to come over tomorrow, and we're both very excited.
This is very exciting. Yeah, so that's most of our current events at our schools. We're definitely looking forward to also interacting more with the younger schools, with the middle school and Cali and all the other schools as well.
Thank you both. Any comments by board members? As I shared with Kai and Meadow, I think it was just us two. I think Stephanie and I were part of the interview panel. But because we're here and because it's a meeting, perhaps we can take a minute or two with all the board to talk with our 6th and 7th members of the Board of Trustees about how we can maybe facilitate or work with you, talk a little bit together, because we literally don't ever get to do that on substantive subjects as a group, except when we get together at a meeting. So maybe we just, if folks have either comments or questions, kick around an idea or two, since it looks like we have a little flexibility in the meeting today.
Well, I just wanted to welcome you both. I've been excited for you guys to join since, we went through the interview process. So I've been kind of like looking forward to having this meeting and you being here. So I just wanted to welcome both of you. And I'm really excited to see how this role evolves this year. I think it's different every year, and having you both, and I think you both have similar but different interests. And I think you're going to do different things and add value in different ways to the board. So I don't know that I have questions, but I mean, if there's anything that you want to talk about, or if any other board members, like Bill said, if we want to comment or anything, I think it would be great to meet. I would love to meet with both of you. I talked to them both earlier and said I'd love to just meet and chat and kind of figure out learn a little bit more about what you want to do this year and accomplish, and see how I can help. And I'm sure other board members want to spend time with you too.
So I also had the chance to talk to both of you right before this, right? And what I offered is if you ever need to email us, if you have a question, anything in regard to how we work, then it's always welcome from you because we want you to get the most out of this position as possible. And then I think, I'm sorry, opening up more opportunities, to meet with you, just to get to know you better. And it's so interesting to hear from both of you, some of your comments about how you will collect information from, the student body was a good conversation. So I think that you have a vision. So I'm excited to learn more about that. And I'm sorry we skipped Paul, but usually we're not very formal. So I just felt that maybe you could go next, Paul.
No worries. No, I just want to welcome you both to the board. I'm no longer the newbie. You are, which. No, I got to talk a little bit with Kai and Meadow at the quick cafe ribbon cutting, and both are real excited and have a lot of good ideas, and I just love your excitement and your it's great. So I just want to welcome you. My knowledge isn't as vast as my other members here, but I'm learning too. So welcome.
Just we're glad to have you here. It's going to be a fun year for you guys. I got to be honest. Meadow already told me that she's got wrestling in her background now, so she's up 2-0 right now. But the year's long, so you got a lot to make up. You have time. You have time. Don't let them catch you. Anyhow, no, we're the one thing that I think all of us board members have noticed is that every year it's just refreshingly one of the best things of what we do is getting to know you guys and all your predecessors. For me, it just renews my faith that the future is bright because we've got some great kids coming up to help shepherd our world into some good places. So anyhow, welcome to be on the board. It's you can't make a mistake up here. So because we haven't made any yet as a group. So don't feel intimidated and probably the only thing that you need to do is get one of those dictionaries of acronyms because we have a lot of them. So
I'm not sure that dictionary exists, but
well, it just keeps getting bigger every year.
I haven't found it yet.
But anyhow, but welcome, and we look forward to having a great year with you guys.
And I want to thank you both, Kai and Meadow were at the district kickoff event with all nearly 500 of our classified and certificated staff. I made a point of introducing them as two of our trustees, and the roar of applause and clapping you got far exceeded anything that got to the others of us that were there. So I think your visibility, and particularly I wanted those other school site leaders and staff and principals to know who you were, right? They're going to know you there at the high school and in North Bay Met, right, at that facility. And so I appreciate you all taking the time on Monday morning early to be around and really demonstrate that we're part of a team. I mean, this governance team now is 8 people, the 7 of us up here and the superintendent, and we all work for Jen Cox, as we know. So anyway, with that, thank you for being here. And we really, really look forward to a great year. Okay. With that, we will move on to item 4.4, the superintendent's report.
Yeah, I just have a quick one. So we've had a good start to the year. We've done a number of things. We had our leadership retreat where we really had a focus on kind of just building coherence across the district, really, and trying to get all of our plans into one space and making sure we have unified goals and strategies to meet those goals. It was a good meeting. And then we had our district kickoff, which you kind of mentioned, but I think it went well. I've heard lots of good feedback. We had the cheerleaders there, and I can take no credit for that. There are people who just killed it with all the fun that kind of took place. But Brian's been here the longest of all of us, and he said it was the best one he's seen since he's been here. So I feel good about that. Were you here before, Brian? Oh, yeah. Just kidding. So never mind, strike that. But Brian told me that anyway. So first day of school was a success. We had some hiccups with transportation that we've had to work out. But beyond that, it was a good first day. I got to be at Maddie Washburn and Callie. I just love to go see the little TKers. I got one little kid to stop crying. Took me 10 minutes, and then as soon as I said, "Do you want to color?" Start crying again. I was like, "Man, I thought I had him," but they get him going. So it was a good day. And then a couple of things. So drone footage. We just had we've got some great shots. Heather just showed them to me a couple hours ago. So we want to thank officially Russell Haynes of Skyguard Drone Services. He got us some amazing footage. He's a Windsor resident with a student in our district. He has a grandchild starting at Maddie next year. And he stepped up, gave us a great deal on like a great deal. When I say great deal, great deal. And if you check out the websites, I think you've got them up, Heather. They're all of them. So quick turnaround.
Can you show us any of them?
I'll have her pull it up. Would you be able to pull some of it up? It'd be nice to show. It's really cool.
You're very
So
excited.
as she's pulling that up, I'll talk about the new website because we just did a changeover yesterday or today, but it's fully updated, and I think it's much more user friendly. And so you'll get to see the new website right now. The reason we did the new website is really because of Parent Square. So we're using that as our communication platform, and our website's fully integrated with Parent Square. So hopefully it'll streamline some things. It should.
It should. And you sign in is right behind you.
I don't know where that came from.
Oh yeah, you're up. It's up now. There you go.
Makes it look like a junior college campus.
I know, right? Stephanie, did you notice up in the corner it says enroll now? You can't see it because she scrolled down, but it's there.
I have it up on my laptop and I see it.
There you go.
Thank you for taking my feedback. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Wow.
Wow.
It's very big. Thank you.
And
How cool is
oh,
that?
that is
Love it.
amazing.
Isn't that
there.
amazing? Do you have the one where he goes through the arch? Yeah. I want to
And
see that
and
one.
did we reach out to him? Did he reach out to the district? How did this come about?
So a large part of my job is checking social media, and he had posted a few videos of the hotel building. So I just reached out to him and asked if this was something he'd be willing to work with us on, and he jumped right in and was absolutely fabulous to work with. Let's see.
I like how it's organized too. If we're commenting on the website,
Thank you.
just like, there's a drop down on prospective family, one for current family, staff members, students. This is very user friendly.
Yeah, we thought that was really where we focused most of our conversation is that part. How do we want to be forward facing to those families?
High school.
It looks fake.
We could look like Michigan if it turns
Right?
around enough.
Yeah, this is my favorite.
Wow. It almost looks animated when he does it.
It
It's
does,
so
right?
green and perfect and pristine. That's really amazing.
So we'll keep building this out,
Yeah.
but we got it built out enough to where we could make it go live.
Super. But thank you so much, Heather. That's
I just want to say that's really good work. And also, I really like the menu at the top. I like how that's organized. So that's really, really important because I think before in the other site, it was so, just so much that it was easy to get lost.
100%.
Yeah. But it looks really good.
Thank
Okay.
you.
anything else, Mr. Decker?
No, that was it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Heather, for that last minute add-on on the video.
Bill, just-
Yes, sir.
Jeremy, do we have a district policy about advertising on top of our buildings? Because, man, I saw a lot of
And you
revenue
can
generation
advertise.
space there.
You do have a board policy on advertising, but it essentially says you can do what you want. So
Oh,
that's
well,
really kind of what the policy
we,
says.
we, we've thought about horizontal spaces, but maybe it's the,
Didn't
or
realize we-
vertical spaces. Maybe
Maybe,
it's the
huh?
horizontal rooftops
Yeah.
too. It's right underneath where the tourists come in on the airplanes,
Hey,
if
hey,
as they come
it
over the
could work.
football stadium. Okay. Thank you, Superintendent Decker. I do not see anybody from the staff associations. Any feedback on either our CSEA or WDA leaders? Okay. We'll move on then to board trustee report. Let's start over here. We've already done Meadow and Kai. Rich, why don't you start? We'll go from left to right on the dais.
Just wanted to let the other trustees know that if they want, the football program is going to be having a swim party this Saturday up at Windsor Waterworks from 1 to 4. And if any of the board members want to, or staff want to swing on in and say hi to the guys and before they start their season, feel free. And then I guess the volleyball team is going to be there on Monday at 5:30. So if either one of those times are available for you guys, swing on in and say hi and introduce yourself to, all the guys are playing. And then on Monday night, all the girls that are a foot taller than I am. So they go to Windsor. The other thing is, with that in mind, I just kind of want to put a little Parker or whatever we want to call it, something that for the future. It's come up before and I forgot about it. If I don't do it now, I won't. Kids this time of the year have to get physicals. All the kids are looking for physicals. Sometimes it takes 2 months or longer to get an appointment to go get a physical. And historically, and I'm going to say that because I don't remember when, we used to have doctors would give kids physicals. We have the form and they would go through it. And a lot of chiropractors in the area, they would do it. And so, and then somebody said, oh, we can't use chiropractors. I don't remember exactly who it was or whatever, but chiropractors are much more accessible. But then I had a chiropractor that was doing it. And this chiropractor actually he is a recognized he has a certificate. He's a national medical examiner. He is who signs off on our bus drivers and all our transportation people, but is not able to give our kids a physical to play a sport. And he does it sometimes for free and sometimes for like near nothing to help the kids. So I wanted to bring this up to our awareness again, so we can somehow figure out how to make that available for him and any other person that would be qualified with whatever certain minimal requirements are. We have a shortage of doctors, shortage of nurses, shortage of RNs. And so like I've had like 5 kids today. Coach, do you know where I can get a physical? They're like 2 months out. And so anyhow, that's what brought it to my mind. So if we can, I don't even know who it is I need to direct it to. So that's why I'm just, okay. So that would be my thing. Cause in that way, one, and then that's not only 2 months, but it's $400 to get a physical. So there's a problem that we need to fix somehow. And so,
Thank you.
Thanks.
So let's see, I have a couple of things. So at the beginning, I'm sorry, can you all hear me? At the beginning of the summer, I was really excited to participate in a migrant education program with parents and children. And this was held at Brooks Elementary. And I just wanted to say that was really fantastic to see so many Latino families and children, presenting their beautiful art and just receiving a lunch. And you could see all the smiles all around the room. So it's just really, really incredible. And I think the reason why that was important to me because it reminds me about why I'm here and just engaging with community and just seeing, parents, just being really proud and enjoying themselves and their children. So that was wonderful. And the second event that I was very impressed by was the board staff retreat. Jeremy, I just want to give kudos to you and your staff. It was really wonderful to engage with staff because it's not something that I often get to do. And also just to see the level of collegiality that was there and everybody really on the same page and wanting the same goals for this year. It's just really wonderful to see, especially in light of the fact that we have so many new people in their new position. So that was really, really important, is just to get everyone on the same page. So I think that happened. So congrats on that. And that's all I have today.
Thank you,
Just a couple, well, one thing for sure. The kickoff event that you all put on was amazing. When I was teaching, I never had a kickoff. Sorry, Jeremy, even in Cloverdale, it wasn't like that. Okay, I mean, your your PowerPoints were pretty cool in Cloverdale, but that kind of blew my mind. It was like just the energy in that room. It made me want to go teach again, full time kind of thing. It was pretty impressive. I thought everybody did a really good job. The burritos were good. So I think that's pretty much, yeah, that's all. Oh, and the website, very impressed. That video that you just shot at the Quick Cafe ribbon cutting, it's already there. So Heather, yes, good job. That was good. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, I have to agree. The district kickoff was pretty epic. And I know I was sitting there thinking like back to when and Rich, you weren't there, but we got elected at the same time and kind of thinking back to 4 years ago and like if I thought we would be where we are right now and kind of reflecting on the team and everyone. And it just felt really good, the whole thing. So that was exciting. I actually have a lot of notes of things I wanted to talk about just because it's been a month and a half since I've seen everyone and I'm a listener and a thinker and I like to read things. And so I know I was the person who raised like AI when it first, like I was like, today this product is coming out. And so I just wanted to follow up on that because I mean, at the end of the day, the educators are the experts. Like we trust you guys to do your job. And I think we're here to represent the community and to represent the residents and also, of course, the students, but kind of from a community lens, not from an expertise lens. But I did want to comment just on some AI and technology developments and just kind of my thoughts on where things are going. And I'll try to cut down on what I was going to say. But, I just think that the district, and Jeremy, you've really been spearheading this, like really leading organizational growth and working on thinking about how we interact with one another and how we take ownership and kind of dispersing ownership more to the school sites and making it a little bit more decentralized. And that's all kind of part of this, like thinking about how we can work better and better serve our students. And I think that we just live at this time where things are changing so quickly. And I don't want to get like too new agey, but like we literally live on a planet that is like hurtling through space and it's very precarious and we're all just here. This is the most I'll get like this. Like I'll bring it back. I promise there's a point. But like we're just kind of figuring it out, right? And we live at this time where like things are changing really quickly and it's about to happen again, like even more quickly than it's happened before. So it's like just this really interesting time that we're in. And I'm someone who really feels that we have to try to embrace change and not just reject it because it's new and different. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, is just talk about kind of what we've already done and remind us kind of how much we did during the pandemic too, to bring technology into our schools, going one-to-one, which was something that I made the mistake of not being for, early. I thought, well, we don't really need this, but like we do. And, now that our students have Google Classroom and they have all of their assignments there, like parents have visibility into what their kids are doing. We can see the grading. We can see everything that's happening. Students are being evaluated in a way that's being tracked and where we can then do something with that data. And I think that's kind of we're at that point where we're trying to figure out what do we, and maybe you've already are past this, but that's kind of where we are, is like we are collecting this information and what do we do with it? And not to mention that students are also learning how to use all of this technology, which is going to be part of our world going forward. So we watched this video at the district kickoff, it was called How China is Using AI in Classrooms. And it basically showed, for those who weren't there, like kids going into a government run school and like putting on these headbands that like monitored their brain waves and like their focus and sent it to their teacher who's sitting at the front of the classroom and is monitoring this dashboard and like basically monitoring how much focus each of these kids have. And, I kind of watched it and I was like, wow, they're really like doing a lot of things. And then I asked for the video this morning, so that's why I emailed you, because I wanted to see it again, because I was like, wait, are they though? So I went back and I was like, I want to see if they have signs of like other technology, like what we have in their classroom. Like, do they have Chromebooks? Does it look like they're, and they were using pencils and paper, right? So they were just being monitored, like they were just being surveilled, right? Basically, they were just being monitored for how much they were focusing. The tools weren't being used to, like, as far as I could tell, develop their skill set or master or check how much they're learning or do something that's a little bit more kind of in line with, I think, our values as a school district. And I think we know what those are. So I thought that was really interesting to go back and watch it and think like, okay, this is one way to use technology and embrace technology, but it's not the way that we would do it. We would do it a different way. So I just wanted to point that out because I thought it was really interesting. And then I just wanted to talk about some of the possibilities of how I think this new technology can be helpful, just so we can think about it in a creative way as we go forward. I think, everything has to be evaluated and we have to be careful. But I think that even for instance, I have some examples. So, something that I've been interested in forever is working on building workforce housing at Windsor Creek, which I hope will happen with the support of the board eventually. And we'll see. But that project has seemed so massive to me in the past of how do you actually make it happen? And then I was like, well, I could ask ChatGPT to break it down for me and make a bullet point list of exactly what needs to happen to make this project happen, right? And so in 1 minute, ChatGPT had made this overview for me of, these are the steps, this is how long each one is going to take. And, it's not totally accurate, but I think these are the kinds of things that it's going to unlock. This new technology is kind of being able to digest really huge pieces of information and make actionable steps and actually be because otherwise we'd have to I'd have to talk to a bunch of different people and spend months putting together what this would be. So I thought that was interesting. And then another thing that I've been hearing a lot about recently and listening to some podcasts about is AI tutoring tools that are going to be available. And I know I don't have the data, I don't have the exact stats, but I know that there is data supporting that one-on-one tutoring is one of the most effective ways to help a student learn, right? I think we just know that. I don't have it the site to provide, but we know that that's true. And imagine, a student working on an essay and their AI tutor can give them real-time feedback on well, what about this argument? Could you make this stronger? Could you write this in a different way? I mean, think about how long it takes, how much work English teachers have to do to give feedback. And then, it's weeks later that you're reviewing it and you don't even know if the student is really digesting it. So I think that could unlock amazing opportunities and also with math too, being able to work through problems with a very patient tutor, right? Because an AI doesn't ever lose their patience. They just stay nice. I even have, I have a colleague who actually made friends with ChatGPT and talks to it. So they're always nice. So I think that's a real possibility. And also with language, having Callie in our school district, I know for me, I just don't use my Spanish. I haven't for the last 20 years. So it's choppy. If I can do it, but it's not as good as I want it to be. And so I've kind of been waiting for AI language learning because imagine, there's a teacher in a classroom, she hands out headsets and all of the kids start talking to their AI language tutor and it just helps, they're talking about a subject and it's giving them feedback in real time. I think we could make up a lot of learning loss. And I think these tools are going to exist pretty soon. So I just wanted to give those examples. And
Can I make a quick comment?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I just want to say I really appreciate your creativity and the way that you're thinking and all of these, diverse ideas. I also am a person that uses ChatGPT in my business a lot, but I use it with a lot of caution. And the part that concerns me very much about ChatGPT and other AI technology is that there are a number of research papers and books that have been written about how ChatGPT and AI technology in general is very biased and discriminatory against women and also people of color. And that's the part that really concerns me because what I've seen and what I've read in the research, it doesn't show that there's a clear-cut path for how to navigate away from, those stereotypes and that discrimination. So, for example, for fun, one day I entered into ChatGPT. What are the industries that employ the largest number of persons in Mexico? And it gave me this very biased response about how they're mostly in agriculture. And I think they mentioned construction and maybe one other industry. And I was thinking, this is very limited and basic because clearly in Mexico, and especially with Mexico City being, one of the largest cities in the world, there's a huge, professional class and people of diverse backgrounds and levels of education, but it didn't account for that at all. It was just like basically everyone is in agriculture or like construction, right? So that just concerns me. And I think that that's a conversation that, on the one hand, we can acknowledge that that technology is valuable, but on the other hand, to really recognize like, wow, there's this whole, group of people, African Americans, Latinos, Indigenous people that Chat GPT is very much biased against. So I think that that's just important. But I think it's a good conversation to have.
Yeah. I mean, there's even an example in the legal world where somebody asked ChatGPT to write their legal brief, and Bill's probably heard of this, where the ChatGPT just made up all of the cases like they weren't real, and he submitted it, and then the judge was like, "These are not real cases," and he lost the case. So that was pretty bad. So yeah, I mean, I think it's like it's still a very rudimentary system, but I think that there are some promising things, and we should, obviously look for quality, but I would want us to be open to at least, considering using some of this technology as it becomes high quality. Thank you. Those are my thoughts from the summer.
How was your,
It was great. Yeah.
was this because you were in and around Greece and feeling like initiative of new ideas and things?
I don't know. I just
Okay.
missed you guys, and I was thinking about things.
Cool.
I also was in the car a lot today driving, so
Okay.
had lots of time to
Well,
think.
thank you so much for everyone's comments. So I have passed out to the board because I had some questions at the kickoff event, our board is organization and assignments, and I shared it with Meadow and Kai, just so we can be reminded of our school site liaison assignments, a variety of other activities. And I think our student board members can get connections there for when they are doing outreach. I would like to add, I think, Jen, at the bottom, we'll make a Windsor Creek Property Committee and have that be Rich Carnation and Stephanie Ahmad, if we'll add another one on the bottom. And we talked a little bit about that when we were in with the superintendent. One point also for, again, Kai and Meadow, we have at the very end of the board, future board items. And so we talk about like sort of AI, and maybe let's sort of get that in the parking lot. So we'll talk about that at the end. And to realize that you two also can get with us and say, could we get a board agenda item about this? Or frequently talking with Jen Cox or one of the principals, a teacher, the superintendent, to say, hey, I have a question about this. What are we doing about that? And so if you come up to speed, we can put it on where we can actually discuss it, take action on it. Also, not as frequently, but sometimes we can get those from members of the public or our teachers or our union partners. Will say, can we get this on the agenda? And so we keep a rolling parking lot of future items, and we try and figure out through our staff, when we would flow those in. Sometimes they are linked to other things we're doing, but I wanted you to know that we have a process to do that, and you are part of that process. So if you have ideas or questions, one of the things we can do, which again, I appreciate, we've had a kind of a robust back and forth because we haven't met for 2 months. But the only time we get to do this, particularly for those of us, the elected officials under the Brown Act, is when we are sitting at a noticed meeting, right? So this is a very valuable time because we just don't get to do, like what Stephanie was sharing or other thoughts, that we don't get to do this without having a notice meeting for the public. So anyway, thanks to all my colleagues about that. Did we need to perhaps accelerate a property item so our property project management friend doesn't need to stay till the end? Or Brian, do you have? Oh, okay, all right, so, well, you're coming up now after the first hour. So with that, we will go to the consent action item. There was some adjustments on the agenda, but Vice President Lopez, please.
Yes, so as President Adams has already commented, there were some adjustments to the consent action items. Is there anybody else that needs to abstain or make further comments about these items?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion to approve items 5.1 through 5.14 with the exception of the adjustments?
Also move.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have two preferential votings. So preferential voters vote first. So we just need to get back to that. That tells us what our student board members' voice is on an idea. For many things, it is not controlling, but it is done. So we will get better after the next vote when we have those. We'll make sure that we ask the student board member preferential vote first. Okay. So we'll pass the consent items with the exception of 511 and 514 on a 5-2-0 vote. So that's 2-5-0 votes. See, thank you. And one abstention on 5.1 by Trustee Carnation. Thank you. Okay. With that, if we could tee it up, Austin, on 511, and I guess you'll probably do 514 as well, are the two that we'll pull, and we'll hear those for a further discussion. They are action items, so once we've completed the discussion on them, we'll have a vote on those two items individually. So go ahead. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and call Brian Cameron up, but just so everyone knows at home and in the audience, this is a consideration of approval of a change order. This is the second change order through GeoCon for the Cali Calmacac Academy, the portable replacement project. It's the new 2-story building. So Brian, you want to walk through what kind of is involved in this change order and why the change order and all that?
Yeah, so for GeoCon, this is for our Cali Calmacac new construction for the 2-story building. We originally received the PO before the project started. Once we got going on it, we were trying to accelerate the schedule, and we had them on site pretty regularly. We had a lot of welding inspections. We had to have them inspect all the steel for the structure. And we also had to do a lot of concrete testing, and we had them on site pretty regularly. As we went along with the project, we did change order number 1 to kind of incorporate a lot of those costs. And then we had to have them on site even more for all the site work, doing the compaction testing, and then more concrete testing. And then as well as doing the shade structure, which was done by a third party. So this cost pretty much brings us to the end of the project and to a DSA closeout.
Okay. Questions or comments from board members?
Yeah, I've got a couple on this one, the other. So Brian, I apologize. I didn't get a chance to get a hold of you earlier. So I could have asked you some of this before, and I'm probably going to want to have this come back to us with some more information, because some of this stuff isn't working for me. And this is kind of, I also want to bring this up because I want you to be aware of, as we go forward, we have a lot of projects, maybe they're going to be, coming up. So one of the questions I have is who's our who's our inspector?
It's Bruce Mansell. He's been doing our inspections for a while.
Okay. One of the things that I know on projects can happen is they call it project creep and what happens, but does Bruce have a budget that so in other words, if we're doing certain amount of work, certain things need to be tested. You got to do cores, all these different things, compaction tests. But if we're not managing that well, we can end up doing a whole lot more inspections and a whole lot more costs. When I'm looking at this, I have nothing concrete to put my finger on. I just have a sense from doing a lot of work myself that the initial contract and where the new numbers have come into are significant. And so I know that in the electrical world, a lot of contractors bid it as tight as they can, and they look to change order you to death. That is just a known thing in the electrical world. So you got to watch out for that stuff. And then there's other things too. I'm aware of projects where the inspector literally can drive a project to be months longer and drives all kinds of costs up, and a lot of it's unnecessary. So I don't know what our district policy is or our district oversight on the inspectors. Who's overlooking the inspector? Because the inspector's supposed to be there representing us. Well, I mean, looking out for our best interest. So I get that. But at the same time, are we being are we doing it how we should? So this is more of a discussion point of that, because I know that this change order is only $10,000 compared to 250 grand.
Yeah.
But I don't feel comfortable that it's 250 grand. I'm looking at the reasons why they want the extra 10,000. One's additional testing, 2 inspections, and 3 project closeout. I'd like them to go back and look at this and send it to us again. We shouldn't have any costs for project closeout that weren't already included in their original bid. They already knew they had to close the project out. So either that's a typo, or, which that happens all the time, that it was just generically put in, or something. But my spidey senses tell me that this was something that was added on that isn't appropriate. And again, it's very, very easy to go, it's 10 grand out of 250,000. I'm not so sure that the 250, if I actually went back and looked at it, I think that that could have been maybe, and I'm not pointing at you or your organ, you guys do a great job. I think that sometimes things can get lax and inspectors can go, it's okay, shoot another panel. That's $4,000. Just so who's watching Bruce and asking Bruce, do we need that many tests? Can we just do this? Those kind of things. I don't know the answer. So these are not accusatory. I don't want that to be the thing at all. This is more of a, what is our policy? What are our things in place? Because this thing doubled, and now we got 10 grand at the end for that. And then I'm looking, so that is that. And again, this is for final testing, inspection, engineering review, final DSA reporting. The final DSA report should have already been, that should have been part of included in their first beginning original costs.
It was included in there, but obviously we went over that cost, so they added it back on there. But just the one thing on GeoCon, I haven't been too happy with them, because in their contract language, they charge you drive time, and they're from Pleasanton, I believe. So all that time they're driving, we're having to pay them. So moving forward, I definitely want to look at other inspection firms.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, because those are the small little things.
There's a lot of little things like that that add up on you over time.
Right, because again, we all go, I mean, every dollar that's spent somewhere else is a dollar that didn't go into a book, a computer, a blade of grass, or something, or a salary. So actually, this is bond money, so this probably wouldn't go that way. But anyhow, I think you understand where I'm coming from on this.
I'd be happy to go over
So even though this is 10 grand, and I don't know, it's a closeout, if we said, hey, send it back to them. The board didn't approve it. We want you guys to revise it, make sure that those numbers are accurate and send it back. Would we get into an issue in our contract that we are, I know with contractors, we have 10 days from the day of final payment to make something. Are we in a situation where we would
It would
breach?
be fine if we need to go back and take a deeper dive into it. They're a pretty large firm, and we've done a lot of business with them.
Okay.
So I don't see it being an issue.
That'd be great, because it just, something isn't,
Mm-hmm.
It's not feeling right in this thing, and I don't know exactly what it is, because I don't have the other documents to actually look at it, but that was kind of it.
Okay, so we're not going to the second
okay.
one yet. Any other comments on this particular one for 511? I just wanted to double check. I appreciate geocons. Do we have any problems with DSA or a project closeout? If we continue this, we could do it as quickly as our meeting in 2 weeks or our regular meeting in September.
We're still working on a couple items. We're not ready to submit all the forms yet, so we can wait.
Okay,
till
so we have some
next board meeting.
flexibility to,
Right.
okay, good. That's the only thing I wanted to check. Okay. All right. Any sense then from the board, the consensus back would be, we'll pull this item and get some more information to respond to the questions. And I think, did you have any follow-up with Rich about
No,
following
just
anything
like
he
I
said?
mentioned, I'm not too happy about how they charge drive time
Mhm.
from here back. So that adds up over, when was it? Like pretty much 60 days of continuous inspection. So there's for our future projects, I definitely want to look at local companies that are nearby.
Okay, great. Thank you, Brian. Anything else that you need on this particular item, you think? Austin?
No, I
Okay.
actually, I think that it's funny because Brian and I had the same conversation about 3 weeks ago when we uploaded this item. Then Jeremy called me about a week and a half ago when we uploaded this item. So then now it's funny because we wanted to question it and we all felt the same way. So it was actually funny, Rich, because you gave us a directive on how to question it. So that was helpful. So thank you.
Oh, I got more, but I'm just trying to.
Oh, I know. you do.
I have a mental note of what time tonight should end, and I'm trying to get there.
Put that over under. All right. So with that, we've given the direction on 511. So now to 514, the consideration of approval of change order or one for returning 6 portable classrooms for the Cali Calmecca Language Academy portable replacement project, temporary housing agreement with Mobile Modular Management Corporation. I asked Jeremy when we were reviewing the agenda if we had an acronym for that, and we needed to buy a couple of vowels. So Austin, is this you and Brian again? Okay, go ahead.
I can start on this one. This is another one I'm not super happy about. We obviously lease these portables for temp housing at Cali. And then when you return them, they charge you a bunch of fees for like holes you drilled into the wall, like repairing or not repairing, but maintenance on the HVAC units. So we questioned them on this, like, why are we getting this charge? And they came back and showed us their contract where they have all these little stipulations on you get extra charge for holes in the wall. You have to replace the whole panel. So it's another one of those things that's frustrating. But then they point you to the fine print in the contract, and there's not much you can stand on there.
Okay, Rich, comments on that?
Good, which I figured that was the case. And so that's why I want to get back to, and this is, something, this is what I unfortunately have to do in my company, is read those contracts and get down there to all this stuff. So on this one, it was more like clean, inspect, replace, and repair the unit. This is, in my mind, I'm thinking like, this is, because we're going to be doing portables again, right? This is like renting an apartment. There's got to be a reasonable standard for normal wear and tear on a unit. So we need to go in, all schools generally get contracts, and then they'd say, okay, for example, our engineers, our architects, we are agreeing to we struck it out of the contract. We indemnified them in their language. They would do it. They would make a mistake. We were indemnifying them against a mistake only to the limit of their contract. Silliest thing I've ever heard in my life. So, and only in that area. So this thing of cleaning the HVAC unit, that's in the language.
Yeah, I have the email.
Those sneaky little suckers.
I can forward
So,
it to you.
so we need to, going forward, rental kind of stuff, we need to scrub those contracts and scratch that crap out of there. Cause this is again, this is a $350,000 contract. Again, it's only $8,900. It's like not even a percent of the deal. And we are but we can get 0.5% here, 0.25% there, 0.75% there. Most businesses, they know, hey, we can just keep nickel and diming them to death and they just slides through and stuff. So since we're going to do more, we need to look for these kind of end of the job screw you clauses. And sorry,
That's a Brigham Young word. That's all right.
exactly. And scratch these things from it, or we don't do business with them.
Yeah.
Now, agree. If we damage their stuff, so for example, like the replacement of the wall grid, who damaged it? So it wasn't damaged. Somebody put a hole in it.
It's just like we put the TVs that all the classrooms have. We wall mounted them on the walls, and they'll charge you like to replace that piece of panel.
Yeah, instead of you, so we improved their unit, and they want to charge
Well, I
us.
mean, we took the TVs off when we returned them.
Got it.
Yeah, but still, it's frustrating, and it's even more frustrating that there's only like 2 or 3 companies that lease portables.
Got it. So maybe in the future, we are going to install these here, and that's included, and we leave the mount in there, something to that effect. Anyhow, I don't know. We can go over that later. That's not the issue, but there are things like, electrical and utility repairs. I don't know why, but I want to leave on this note because I want to get out of here on time. Do we thoroughly inspect these units when they come in? So that way we're aware of their exit checklist. So that way that exit checklist is much like a rental car. I go around every time I rent a car now because it's amazing how many things develop when they come back. I just jump in the car and used to drive away, right? Thinking everybody's straight up. Oh no, and all these little dents and dings and road chips that they hit you for on the way back in. I've always, if I had time, I'd like to go and say, hey, how many times have you charged? How many people have you charged for that same dent or that same chip? Anyhow, that's the point.
One thing to add though on that point, like they come in decent condition, but when you install them to meet DSA requirements, you have to go in, drill conduits through the wall and so forth. So that's how they get you on the back end too.
But and that's where I would argue with them. If they know that we have to drill and put conduit and certain things in, right? That has to be an accepted, I don't want to say standard of business, but that's got to be an accepted practice. Hey, we are going to do this and you know it, and it's included in our cost. And the removal of that on the way out, too bad, so sad. That's on you. So anyhow, I think there's a little tightening up that we can do in a couple of these areas. And to the Geocon one, there's tons of good engineering firms that are right here local. And I would tell them, hey, they don't get travel time. You live here, that's local, keeping it local, blah, blah. Anyhow, I wanted to more or less just kind of complain about it.
Noted.
And
you were circumspect about the words of complaining that you used, I noticed a couple times. But with that said, it does not seem like there is a request to pull this one. So
no, it's more of a, I wanted to discuss it.
I understand. So from an action, do you have anything else that you'd like to add, Brian?
If you want me to make them wait, we can wait till next month.
No, because we agreed.
Yeah, we signed
We
the
agreed
contract.
to it. So we need to honor our agreement with them, even if we let some sneaky little language and very, very small font sneak by us. And let's be more diligent in scratching out these what do you call it? We need a better prenup or whatever it's called on this.
And I'll stop you there because God knows where that's going there, my friend.
For these
So-
next ones, I'll take a deeper look at them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian, and thanks for the detailed discussion and dive that we took into that. In that vein, we will I'd entertain a motion and a second for consideration of approval of item 4.1, the change order on the 6 portables that we have learned so much about.
I move approve.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Our two student board member, what are they called? Advisory votes?
Preferential vote.
Preferential votes.
Aye.
Okay, you could have said, no, you have the concerns and you want us to hold it or something. All the rest of us, all in favor? Aye. Okay, put that down as a 2-5-0 vote. Thank you very much. That concludes our consent action item, including the two pulled. Thank you very much, Brian, for coming up. Appreciate that. Thank you for that description. All right, we will now move to our discussion action item 6.1. Consideration of approval of resolutions 2024-01 authorizing WUSD to apply for a grant to the California Energy Commission to implement a Cal SHAPE program. Again, for our student trustees, when we do resolutions, given the technical nature of them, we do a roll call vote. So don't be surprised when that comes up, and frequently me or somebody like me or somebody else, we forget that if we're rolling. It will say, nope, resolution, we got to do a roll call vote. So Jennifer Cox will help us with that. Yes, go ahead, Austin, on 6.1.
Yeah, so this one, I usually don't get a whole lot of the fun stuff, but this one's actually the fun one. So this is for a massive grant. It's $750,000. This is through AB 841, which was cleared through the California Energy Commission by Governor Newsom in 2020, right around that time of COVID. And basically what they found through a study was that 50% of California schools did not have proper heating and ventilation, right? And it was obviously a study that came out right around the time of COVID. And so then they released this massive grant. And so this 750,000 is not just for the repairs. This is only for the assessments. So basically you team up with a company, they come through and they assess every unit in all of your schools. And that's part of the contract. And then from there, based off the assessments, you then qualify for your funding to replace those or to update them. And so we are in need of this. I can think of several units, like at Windsor Middle School on the backside. I know there's 2 units on the ground that need to be replaced. And so this actually came at perfect timing because it was right as we were starting to look at it long term. So with that being said, this is a resolution to be able to apply for the grant by partnering with a company, LifeWings, KFI. They're architects as well as contractors. And so the important thing to note here is nothing comes out of our pocket. So the way that the contractors/architects get paid is whether or not we get the grant. So if we get the grant, they get paid. If not, they don't get paid. So that's it.
Sweet. Any questions or comments from the board?
I just wanted to say that this is wonderful, and I was really excited about this item. Yeah.
Thank you.
The only question I have is, you'd mentioned that we get the grant, we get the assessment. If we do that, is there 100% funding for any work that is identified? Let's say our ventilation systems not only are archaic, but are, knock on wood, unsafe, right? And so does this obligate the district, which we would assume probably do anyway, but to take steps that might be out of pocket funded, or do we even know that yet?
I'm going to go ahead and say no. So I've asked that question.
Okay.
The answer I was given was no. We do not know completely for sure. They had previously done something similar to this in the past to where it was not that way. And so since it's structured the same, they're expecting it not to be that way.
Okay. I think it's a helpful diagnostic for us in any event,
Yes,
right? And if it
absolutely.
showed something up that wasn't on our routine or deferred maintenance, then it would be good for us to know.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I'd entertain a motion in a second for Resolution 2024-01.
I'll make the motion. We approve this resolution.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right. Thank you. Again, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Cox?
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Paul Cagorno.
Yes.
Malin Ali Lopez. Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Meadow Graves. Kai
Yes.
RC. Got to be quick, Meadow.
Okay. Austin, moving on then to 6.2, approval of Resolution 2024-02, authorizing Cali Calmecca Language Academy to apply for a grant similar to the one you have just described.
Yes, sir. Same thing, same company, $211,000.
Almost went over $1 million combining them together.
Yes.
Okay. Would it be lumping this work together with the same company then, and they would do it as a
Correct. So they
unified,
would-
with you and Brian and the crew for our district? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and RC also had a huge hand in this.
Yes,
I basically
okay.
Gave it to them.
From facilities, great. Any questions? This is similar to the one, okay. Would entertain a motion a second then for resolution 2024-02.
I'll make the motion that we approve it.
Thank you, Rich.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Roll call, please.
Meadow Graves,
Yes.
Kai Arce,
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad,
Yes.
Paul Cagorno,
Yes.
Malinali Lopez.
Yes.
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
I love this 250. I haven't even made my Lionesses and Tillies from Australia World Cup joke yet to the fan from Liverpool. All right. We have an interesting 6-3 to 6-1-3 on a variety of PIPs and variable 6-1-4, I'm sorry. PIPs and variable term waivers from Pete Sullivan, Director of Human Resources. Thank you very much. When we were before the meeting, you gave us a little bit of an update about how we might approach those, and thank you for that. So the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, before I start tonight, I just want to preface that 6.3 and 6 through 6.14 are all in reference to PIPs, some of your acronyms. So provisional interim permit is your acronym for the night, and variable term.
Check your mic, see if it's on.
There we go. Better?
Yeah.
All right. PIPs and variable term waivers. So they're all related to those items. So if the board will allow me to save some time, I'd like to address each PIP and by item number and by the applicant, acknowledging that in general, PIPs are applied for the same reason. The background information for each applicant is posted within the context of the document itself, as well as in the supporting document that is attached. So just so everyone knows, provisional intern permits are sought on behalf of staff who are not fully credentialed and they have entered or are completing an intern program, and we have quite a few of those right now. And our variable term waivers are issued as needed when there is insufficient number of certificated persons who meet the specific criteria for the job that we have flown. And sometimes that could just be like in one instance, we have a teacher who just has one portion of their teacher performance assessment not complete. Everything else is done. So they're not quite there, but they're almost there. So they've finished their program, et cetera. So all of these people will fall into one of those two categories, variable term waiver or PIP. So the following staff are working under PIPs in the 2023 school year. So starting with 6.3, we have Isabel Timon at Cali, TK5. 6.4, we are recognizing Maria Angeles Luciano Serna, also TK5 at Cali. 6.5 is Jessica Valencia, TK5 at Maddie. 6.6 is a PIP for David Torres, who is a physical education teacher at Cali. 6.7 is a PIP for Maddie Pellman, a multiple subject teacher at Cali. 6.8, a request to recognize a PIP for Greg D. Giacinto, a special ed teacher at Brooks. 6.9, a PIP for Sairia Rodriguez de Diaz, a K5 teacher at Cali. 6.10, a request for a PIP for Clementina Valenti, TK5 at Cali. 6.11, a PIP for Sairia, oh, that's a double, sorry. 6.12, a request for a variable term waiver for Hassan Ferdos. He is a special education teacher and RSP mild mod at Windsor Middle School. And 6.13, a PIP for Nathaniel Eaton, English teacher at Cali. And 6.14, a variable term waiver for a kindergarten teacher, Dakota Page at Maddie. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I have a couple. Any questions or comments by the board, including our student board members? Anything? Thank you very much. Two questions. This ratio here at our early meetings, I know we do this every year. Is this larger, smaller number proportionally? And to what, if it's different, what do we attribute that to, if we know?
Well, it's significantly larger, and that's a great question. especially at Cali, because of the 10 that I just presented, 8 of those are at Cali.
Yes.
And it's really difficult for us to find bilingual instruction, quality bilingual instruction. And so we are pulling people directly out of programs who have the skill set to beat the other districts to the punch, frankly, so we can get
Well
them
done.
in and work them into our culture and hopefully keep them on board. So it's going to be a long process for those who are starting right now. It's a 2-year process through the intern program, and then an additional 2 years in induction program. So they're with us for 4 years, providing that we can keep them in the district, which is one of my mandates.
I do have a question.
Yeah,
Now
please.
that you made all
Mhm.
those comments,
Yeah.
thank you. I was just wondering, Jeremy, does it help us at all to have that partnership with Sonoma State as far as finding qualified applicants?
No, not yet. I
Okay, and
wouldn't
is
say
it
it
just
has.
because it's too new or?
Yeah, we haven't really tapped into that for these applicants yet. No, I
Okay, because
wouldn't
that
say
that
it's
would be
helped.
my recommendation, is to really become better partners with the School of Education
Mhm.
and also Dr. Laura Alamio.
Yep.
I've reached out the kinesiology department because we were looking for PE, and the education department in general. And I posted our jobs there, and I got responses back from the professors and the department heads, but I got no interest from any of the students. So, and we were there for, we picked up 3 students when we were there for the job fair. That was in March of this year, and that was great. But it's so competitive right now. All of my colleagues in every HR, with the exception of Cloverdale, they're fully staffed. Every one of them. 2 weeks ago, I put out a "Where are you, everybody?" And every one of them had at least 2 positions unfilled. And in general, it was a Spanish teaching, or it was math or science. So it's just tough out there.
And just for that partnership to really make a difference, what we heard is that we're a far drive for a lot of those students, and so they don't want to. The student teachers don't want to come here, which is really where that partnership is going to lie.
Right, it's true. It's
It's-
very true. I've run into this problem before because I forgot what I was recruiting for. I was recruiting for interns,
Mhm.
and they were like, "No way are we driving,
Like,
40
it's so
minutes in
far.
traffic,
Yeah.
because gas is expensive
Yeah.
for these students." So that was the reason. But it's good food for thought.
And kudos to your former assistant Soshi, who you sent to Cloverdale to take your job and is 100% staffed. So
I
no
know.
good deed goes unpunished.
Didn't
God
learn
bless
it
her.
from me.
That's wonderful. Any other questions, comments about this? I think we will vote on these as one combined item. With that, I would take a motion and a second for approval of items 6.3 through 6.14 on the PIP and the variable term waiver.
So 6.9 and 6.11 are duplicates.
So,
Do
yeah.
we,
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. but
Which
yes.
name do we like? Do we like 6.9 or 6.11?
I just wonder if you do we have to pay them twice? So
Who, do we know which is the correct name? I hear what you're saying, Rich.
I'm
I'm
just
just
kidding.
trying to figure out. Are we getting the twin sisters there?
voting on the variable term waiver? Are we doing that next?
No, we're doing these all together.
All together?
And
Okay.
they're the same. It's the same person. I don't know why I have a duplicate there.
Okay.
It is? Oh, no, it's SA. So we strike 9.
Okay, thank you. So we will, thank you, Rich, for always looking for that extra dollar. That's good.
I know, I love it.
So 6.3 to 6.14, with the exception of 6.9. All right, so take and thank you for the clarification, Stephanie, that we are combining both. They're just 2 different species of the same sort of thing. So we'll take a motion and a second for that action item.
Also move.
Second.
Okay. With that, preferential voting from down at the end.
A second.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of the 5 electeds? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you very much. That was a very good presentation. That is a 250. Oh, all right.
we got 3 minutes.
Going back to Austin then, item 6.15, consideration of approval of resolution 2024-03 to remove Cali Calmecca Language Academy Fund 03. Illuminate us.
So this one's an interesting one. So in our budget, we have, when you guys get that Form 01, the Fund 01, there's actually more funds that all roll into that fund. So we have about 7 different funds that kind of combine into that one fund. And then within those funds, there's a bunch of sub accounts that are all a bunch of grants. So one of the funds, though, was for Cali Calmacac years and years and years before they became a charter. So once they became a charter, they had to open up into Fund 09. So in our budget, that's currently where Cali is Fund 09. But they never closed out the original fund. So this is more housekeeping. The only piece of this that's not housekeeping is there's roughly 10 cents in that fund. And I think someone left a penny in there that's just slowly gained interest over time. So with that being said, that 10 cents will go to the general fund because that's where it currently is, because it rolls into that, but it'll just make things more official and it's housekeeping. So with that being said, you're closing down Fund 03, which is not all of, that's not Cali's budget right now. Cali's budget's Fund 09. It's just a different fund that has less than 10 cents in it.
Rich is itching to address that
Yes.
question, one dime at a time.
Congratulations, Austin.
Yeah.
When Lois left, she bet me it would take you 3 years to find that 10 cents. And you whooped her.
I whooped her.
You whooped her, man. So with that, I'm going to make a motion that we move that little hanging fruit that Lois left.
It was a test.
Yes, it was. And you crushed it.
Taste it.
Just like the golf ball when we played. So I make that motion.
And is there a second for that shiny new dime?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Rich and Malinelli. Again, this will be a roll call vote for Resolution 2024-03.
Yes.
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 We are having a good day today.
Yeah, can I just comment that if I gave my daughter a dime for allowance, she would cry. So I'm glad it's better served here at the Windsor School District.
Touche. Okay, our final discussion action item 6.16, consideration of approval of resolution 2024-04 for Brian Williams to become WUSD's representative on the Sonoma County Adult Education Consortium, which has an acronym, Oversight Committee. And before we get to that, Superintendent Decker or Williams, congratulations, Brian, on your appointment. I think this is the first meeting that you are here sitting in that seat, and we're proud you're here and welcome aboard. It's good to see you. Okay, talk to us, whoever's going to talk about 6.16.
This is something that Lisa Saxon chaired for many years, and then when she became the superintendent at Wright, Sharon stepped in, and now that Sharon's stepped out, it's Brian. It's honestly, it's a nice thing that we do. I don't think that we gain a lot from it, but it's a nice thing. They need a school district representative, and so we've kind of stepped up over the years to be that rep.
Tell us, you've been to one meeting, Brian, what is it and what does it do? And I didn't know what it was. And when we were looking over the agenda, I thought, well, that's cool. What?
So it's kind of a consortium of like a lot of the adult ed schools. And then of course they have a budget, and so we oversee their budget and kind of just get updates about the program. And these are Windsor is one of the schools that have one of our adult schools coming out of Petaluma. So it is connected to our community, and I'm happy to serve. And it's one meeting a month, just like you guys.
Is it something we can build on for additional adult education here in our community? Do you think? Or is it not that sort of thing?
Well, we currently provide classrooms for English as a second language. And we also provide our Oaks teacher, Greg Carroll, is also one of the adult ed teachers. Okay. So we do have a strong presence in that program.
Okay.
I also have a comment about that. So I just wanted to say that I think that this is a really important pathway for our adult learners, because I know in the past, besides offering English as a second language, they've also, for example, offered computer literacy, for parents that, have never touched a computer. So, their programs are really, really critical for people that in the past may not have had as many educational opportunities. and now they're adults, wanting to learn. So I find it to be really important work.
Yes. And to your point also, Windsor, with this location, we are centrally located between quite a few communities. So people who wouldn't be able to make it to Petaluma can definitely get to Windsor.
Yeah, and also that's an excellent comment because, for example, if you're in Windsor and you're on a limited income, it would be difficult to get to the, for example, SRJC adult learner programs. But if we offer space for those classes to happen here, it just makes it so much more viable for our community.
Well, thank you, and thank you for that update. And so I would entertain a motion, a second, for the approval of this resolution for Brian Williams to continue to fill the position that we have been filling with his predecessors on the SCAEC.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie Malinelli. Okay, a roll call vote, please, on 6.16.
Meadow Graves,
Yes.
Kai Arce,
Yes.
Bill Adams,
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad,
Yes.
Paul Cagorno,
Yes.
Malinali Lopez, Rich Carnation.
Yep, wonderful. I'd be interested, I should have probably made this comment before we took the vote, to find out if there are more, like after hours, to our access to our computer lab facilities, or there are things that maybe as you learn more about this, I knew we had English as a second language, but when you were talking about literacy and some of those things in other fields, I've often thought, we have, the taxpayers have built wonderful facilities that we have, and they sit shuttered, at least half of every week, just to figure out on a not to interfere basis, but, if we had to amortize the cost and figure out what that might be, we have just amazing facilities. And so I'd be curious to kind of hear more about that as you learn more about what folks are doing. Okay. With that, we will go to routine items. I generally referred to it, and somehow it's 7.1, 6.1 on mine. Future board items calendar. Any comments or requests for additional items for the board to consider or to get input from staff going forward? AI tutoring or something like that, that'd be interesting to follow up on in some way. Oh, Kai has in the end. Yes, okay, watch what we did. Yes, sir.
Me and Meadow have been talking, and we were looking into the fact that I believe people at Windsor Oaks and the other, North Bay Med Academy aren't able to attend Windsor High School clubs. I'm the president of many clubs, and I would love to have more people join. I think Meadow can speak more to that.
Yeah, when I switched over to North Bay Met, I heard a lot about the clubs that were going on at Windsor High, and I was very disappointed that I could not be a part of that, as our school does enjoy to attend all of those events, and I feel like we can be a good support and maybe provide a different insight, or at least have a more broad amount of people in those clubs, and maybe not be missed out on experiences that they can't get at our school.
Yeah, I believe also North Bay Met students are also on our football team and our sports teams. So if they're able to be on the sports team, they should be able to be on our debate team as well.
Yeah. Do we?
So is it because the lunches are different?
I don't know if that is the reason. I never was really given a broad amount of information about it. It was just that I could not do that because that is a Windsor High thing.
As a former Windsor High School principal and current assistant superintendent, I'm not aware of any restrictions, and we would love to have, we are all Windsor, so we would definitely love to have everyone participate in our clubs.
That brings me to another question, which is it possible for students that are in the hybrid program to participate in school clubs and other, activities? Are they like can they be full members of those?
So there's the hybrid program, which is just typically 2 courses, your English course and your history course, and then all other classes are taken on campus. And then there's like our independent study students. Anyone can participate in any programs at Windsor High School. There are no restrictions.
And that extends to, for example, like sports and also, well, I guess, just any of the other extracurriculars.
Yes, if they're enrolled as Windsor High School students or North Bay Met students, they can participate in all programs. There's a couple of caveats. Windsor Oak students cannot participate in sports because that's considered a continuation school. And then the future independent study school would have some restrictions to it. But if they wanted to participate in Windsor sports, they could just enroll through independent study through Windsor.
That's wonderful. And I'm just wondering, and this is more just out of curiosity, but is this the kind of information that's put out to the students so that they know if they're in these various programs that they know they can participate?
I've been trying to make inroads with our new principal over at North Bay Met. We informed her that, while we want to respect and honor their graduation ceremony, letting her know that we've changed the stadium graduation from Windsor High School graduation to Windsor Unified graduation. And any student, regardless of what campus they graduate from, they can participate in. And we'll continue to get those messages out about inclusivity, because whether you won't need to be in continuation school or a school of choice or a comprehensive high school, we are all Windsor. So we'll continue to get those messages out.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay. So Meadow, you may want to follow up with the people over here who actually are the working staff who do
There's
it,
no
right? But
restrictions.
you heard it from the horse's mouth. I'm not sure where the source was that you were told that, but that's the kind of thing that this is always helpful for, right? Whether it was a question that you had or something maybe you heard when you were around talking to your peers and other students. Thank you for doing that. Any other thoughts, questions, issues? Is there anything from the DO staff or maybe something that came up out of the staff leadership retreat over at offsite that you would like us to maybe start to think about or we may hear more about?
I think most of it's on here, but I think we've actually done some of these parking lot items and we should probably strike them, but let's make sure because I don't want to
Okay.
strike it if you don't feel we should. But we're going to modify the way we do our single plans and it's going to address a lot of what you saw at the leadership retreat.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think it needs to be added here. It's already kind of built into our board governance calendar.
Okay.
Stephanie had her hand raised.
No, please,
Paul
go
might
ahead.
have as well.
Okay. I was just gonna thank Meadow for raising the club issue, and maybe we can just follow. I don't know what the process is for kind of confirming that.
I think it's the lunch restriction. There's a
Okay.
restriction saying that typically North Bay Met keeps a separate lunch schedule and a separate, lunch, like they stay on that
they're
campus
supposed to
during
stay.
lunchtime. That might be the restriction. It's definitely something that we make the rules, we can change the rules.
Right.
So I will address that with Danielle and Heather tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it just seems like your realm to make that happen. So
Yes.
thank you for doing that. Yeah, I talked about the technology stuff earlier. I think that I just wanted to talk about it. No, I just wanted to share those ideas, but I think that really things have to come from within, right? And come from staff. And I think it'll probably come up on its own.
We're
So
actually going to a training that SCO's putting on. They partnered with AXA
yeah.
to put on an AI demystified training. I think it's September 18th, 19th,
Yeah.
somewhere around then. And I think we have all of certificate of management going. At least I extended it to all of
Yeah.
certificate of
Yeah.
management, and I'm going to attend. So
Yeah.
we'll learn something.
Would you like to go to that? If you could?
No.
You could be our bot liaison or something like that. Okay.
No, but I mean, I've been to my own, I don't know, because in law, there's a lot of this
Sure.
technology too. So I've been to some stuff too. No, I was just saying, since you're going for a more decentralized approach, I think it just makes sense not to say, not to ask for, can there be a committee? I think we need to do that. Let's just see how it plays out. And
I just wanted to follow up on what we talked about in June about the LCAP, and when we were going over the LCAP, we were going over the test scores, which weren't real great. Even our universal screener now, I don't think the results were particularly stellar. So I just kind of wanted to bring that back up in our consciousness and kind of ask you, well, what are our next steps for that deeper dive that we talked about in June? What's our plan?
So I'll address it and you can also jump in, Brian. So really what we're looking at Paul, is to focus on, you've seen my district scorecard, right? So we're actually going to create a site scorecard as well. One of the required metrics that I've given the sites are the SBAC scores. So within what I'm asking them and their leadership team to do is to set a goal based on their data that they had, the baseline data, and then come up with strategies to address that goal, but then also how they're going to monitor what's going on. So they're going to monitor whether those strategies were successful. So I think for the board, what we need to do is set a kind of a calendar to give you windows into how we're doing with each of those things. And I think the best way to do that is with our universal screener with Red Star. So we should probably, and we haven't discussed this, but just thinking out loud, we should probably show you what our baseline data is and give you a quick preview or of our Red Star results. And then probably after our first administration, are we on track? I think that's probably the best way for you guys to be monitoring whether we're making a difference with some of our strategies. I think that's one aspect of this, but what else will we talk about with this?
Well, let me just ask something about RenStar and the data, the results that you get can be very misleading as far as, well, they made 10% growth.
Right.
Well, but they would have made 10% growth just by being in the classroom and breathing air a lot of times. So I think we need to get a deeper understanding of RenStar for the board to understand, because if we look at it and go, oh, well, 10%, that's pretty good.
Mhm.
Well, is it really good? When I was looking at that data in June, I was like, this is not good. This is our universal screener, and we've only gone up that much. Because I used that program. So I understand some of it, but not all of it, not all the ins and outs of it. So is there a way to educate us to understanding that
So
data?
what they do with Red Star, they have a line of best fit, right? To see if you're on track to meet the standard at the end of the year. And I think what we can present to you is saying, here's the baseline, because you could be on track and still not be at the standard, right?
Exactly.
And so I think we can show you 30% are on track based on their baseline scores. And then if we go down to 25%, well, we're not hitting the mark. If we go up to 40% are on track, we're making a difference, right? So I think maybe that might be the best way to present, but I'm speaking out of turn. I think that we've got to talk about the best way to present this information to you, but I hear your interest, and I think that we should put this on a future item for really something along the lines of how do we know we're making progress?
Exactly.
Right? And so I think we can talk about that as a team and determine the best way to present that information to you.
Also, after we spoke at the kickoff, I went back to see what we can pull up for you immediately, knowing that the full scores are not released until October. We received the student individual file, which is every single student who took the test and their scores. That got fed into Aries. The work that the superintendent did last year about getting Aries analytics going allows us to, it just takes every individual student and it does create charts that we can use. I'm only hesitant because we haven't vetted that against the actual scores to make sure everything is accurate. But we definitely, if we find that it is when the scores come out in October, then we will be able to have very early SBAC scores that we can look at prior to school starting every year going forward, which would be outstanding.
Yeah, that would be helpful for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else? Okay. Yeah.
So I just wanted to speak to the AI again, because I'm especially looking at you, Jeremy, and also Brian, just because you work with staff on these things. And I think it's really important that we look at how to implement AI, and then in parentheses, understand, that it's something that has been found through research to be, once again, incredibly racist and sexist. And even before AI came along, there was already a lot of work by many different scholars about how, for example, Google algorithms and other algorithms used by different platforms were already discriminatory. And then AI is just really compounding that even more. And the principal reason why it's that way, it's because most of the people who are engineers are white people, and who come in with, certain perceptions and stereotypes about people of color. And because they're not feeding in, more diverse and rich perceptions of people of color, that's why we end up with what we have. And my concern and why I bring this up is because as a person of color, it's already difficult to live in a world where we have racism and sexism. And, and then that just gets compounded when it's also now in the virtual world as well. So it's like, good Lord, we have to live with it in person and then also online, right? So I really encourage you to maybe develop something that looks like a tool set for educators, for our staff, that is based on, information from perhaps a consultant or somebody that's very knowledgeable in, that area, because it is really important. I really don't want our children, especially if they're children of color, to think like, wow, I'm not looked at somebody that could potentially be an engineer or, a professor or, somebody that has a role in the professional class. So that's really, really important to me. So I just wanted to say that.
I think it's easy to think about, and to make an analogy of artificial intelligence, is like when Rich growing up transitioned from using a slide rule to a calculator, but calculators can't be racist.
You have to be careful because Jeremy, I used some analogies of me growing up and Jeremy didn't get them. So don't whip out that buggy whip. So
And
Hear
we'll
me
leave,
as-
we'll leave the buggy whip in the bucket, I think.
Yes.
Thanks.
So
Couple of things that I have. I will make an offer out again to Kai and Meadow. You might find it instructive and we can figure out when to do it. Usually a couple of weeks before we have the meeting, I sit down and Mally will start to do it in the transition for the year as well, to review the agenda. And it's a really helpful way to kind of look at, and literally I have my red notes that I was working on when we were there a week or two ago. And some things, go forward, some get taken off, some are placeholders because we're working on something. And so to think about that. Finally, I will note that we have, before our next regular meeting on the third Thursday of September, we do have a governance workshop on August 29th, which is a Tuesday. And certainly our student board members would be invited to that. I think that'll be over at the district office conference room. So unless there's anything else for the good of the order, I think we are ready to go. Congratulations again to the team, and please pass along to everyone day one of school. So that's pretty cool. And video underneath the archway. What a thing to start. And to get pictures of Paul on the website literally within an hour and a half of. That's kind of creepy. If you.
It was.
Yeah. All right. With that said, we'll adjourn. Did we make the time, Rich, on the over under that you had?
No, I told my wife there was no way, even if I talked, that we could stretch this meeting past 7:30. So. So Bill, your leadership has been you.
I'm coming over for a hot dog at Windsor Waterworks on Saturday or Monday. All right. Thanks all. Again, congratulations on the beginning of school year. All right.
See you, bud.
Bye, Heather.
I have to run my kiddos waiting over the office for me.